Welcome to Commander Tunes with the Nitpicking Nerds.
This time we're tuning up our patron Speedy Oyster's Vilis Broker of Blood deck.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. We're bringing you daily content every single day. You can rely on us for a new Commander video. So if you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is Patreon. Head over, pick your favorite tier, and then boom, you're supporting us. Also, Joe, what's the other way?
We have a couple of affiliate links. TCG Player link is in the description below. You use that link. Go to TCG Player, buy whatever Magic thing, Yu-Gi-Oh thing, whatever thing you want from TCG Player. As long as you use that link, you'll be supporting us. Same thing with Dragon Shield, which is now working with us. We have an affiliate link in the description. Again, you go to the website. There's an EU one and a US one. Go to either one of those, depending on where you're located. Purchase it. Purchase whatever cool sleeves you want. And guess what? You're supporting the nerds, and it's much appreciated.
Oh my god, the best way to buy cards, the best way to buy sleeves, the best way to support the nerds, all in one spot. What are we doing?
We're doing Commander Tune-Ups. This is a series where we take your, user, patron, backer, supported, or submitted, not supported, decks, and we just upgrade them under his restrictions. Speedy Oyster showed us a Vilis deck that was really expensive and one that was, not as expensive, and he wanted the not so expensive one to be upgraded to a fun point. This is not all about power here. This is about getting this jank deck to like a cool mid-power range where you can have fun.
Trying to get to like a 6.5, right at the sweet spot where we're not comboing and wasting everybody's time, and we're also not doing nothing and folding over and dying. And we're going to be able to actually win, but with more of a let's draw a critical mass as opposed to like let's demonic tutor for my win condition.
First and foremost, we got to read Vilis, which I'll do right now. 5 black for a legendary creature, demon, 8/8. Flying. Pay a black and 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Damage causes life loss. Well, I think the theme is very obvious for this deck. This is a pay life deck. We want to just make our life total keep going down, 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 so we draw more and more and more, and we're going to do what with that, BZ?
Well, once we slam Vilis early and pay as much life as possible, we're going to switch life totals with someone else. They can have our 1 or 2 or 5 life, and then we'll take their 35 life, and then we'll just keep going until we get the next person, switch their life total, and then we'll just finish them off.
Yes. So now the first thing we like to do with these decks, to give everyone an idea of what these decks are doing, these are the best cards that were already in the deck. It's pretty simple. They were sitting in this deck, and they're doing exactly what we want them to do. Oh, God. There's 3 creatures that basically they say, pay a life, doesn't matter what the rest of it is because they just let you pay a life, which means you're going to draw a card. This is basically Yawgmoth's Bargain, which is insane when you have Vilis out. We have Blood Celebrant, which can filter mana into different colors. We don't need different colors. This is just to pay life. We have Mischievous Poltergeist, can regenerate. I don't care.
No one cares.
No one cares. Wall of Blood, make itself a little bigger. Nobody cares.
Right.
These are all pay 1 life, draw a card. It's makeshift Yawgmoth's Bargain with your commander.
Right, and we're always going to have our commander, so that means these cards are always going to be terrible on turn 3. And then once we slam Vilis, the best card ever. Like, better than any card in the format. Your opponents cannot have a card that is better than this in play now because we have Yawgmoth's Bargain.
We have a banned card, yeah. It's actually really funny. I love decks like this that take complete jank.
Just garbage.
Like, I'm Mischievous Poltergeist is trash.
Look at that art.
Yeah. Oh, God. It is a bad Magic card. But this deck, it's like, oh, I'll show you what a bad Magic card.
You get buried by this Poltergeist. There's also Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. He helps in a lot of ways. All the black mana is now payable by life. So not only are we cheating mana and able to slam Vilis and then maybe play some other spells right away, but we get to draw cards off of it that we wouldn't have gotten to draw otherwise because now our black pips turn into Phyrexian black pips.
Yeah, I mean, Crick is a bonkers card.
It's so silly.
Any mono black deck, this is already going to be good, and this is just extra good in this deck. What is Font of Agony?
Well, Font of Agony says whenever you pay life, it gets that many counters, and then you can start removing counters to kill creatures. That's all we're doing is paying life. Even with just Vilis, we'll pay 4 mana, get 8 charge counters on this thing, or blood counters, whatever. 8 friendship counters, and then just remove them and blow things up.
Yeah, there's also Treacherous Blessing. Edge of the battlefield, you draw a nice 3 cards. And then whenever you cast a spell, you're just losing 1 life. Well, that means we're going to draw a card every time we cast any spell. I am in for this.
Yeah, what's that green card called? It's very similar to this. It says whenever you play a card, draw a card, but your hand size is 2. And then we just have that now, except...
Recycle.
Recycle, except our hand size is not 2.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. So Treacherous Blessing, absolutely awesome. Pestilence. Wow, do you know what Pestilence says? This is going to keep the board clear. We can activate this 7 times in one turn without killing Vilis, and we draw 7 cards, and we deal 7 damage to each player. Pestilence gets real crazy real quick.
I mean, Pestilence is already just positive for you. You take 1 damage, but you deal out 3. So as long as you're higher or you have a way to take advantage, you're in Magical Christmas Land. We have an 8/8. We're going to wipe the board of all smaller creatures, smack somebody with our 8/8, and then just draw our deck, basically.
I do want to mention some cards that were in this deck that the first thing I thought of as soon as someone said a Vilis deck, I'm like, Soul Conduit, right? It's in the deck. It's absolutely, this is what this is the main win kind of this deck. It's what this deck does. It's janky, and it wants to get its life total low and switch it out. And there's other cards to do that, but Soul Conduit's the first one. As soon as I'm like, Beezy Soul Conduit, I was like, yeah, look at you here. I'm like, okay, makes sense.
There's Soul Conduit, there's I think it's called Profane Transfusion. There's Repay in Kind, and then there's also like the Magus of the Lich. All of those are going to just let us switch life totals with somebody and ruin their day.
And the last thing, we have a little win con here. If you draw enough cards, you get up to like 20 cards in hand. Totally plausible with a deck like this. Skirk Familiar, Faith of the Devoted. I don't know why I can't say that card. Faith of the Devoted.
Still didn't say it.
It's just going to... I said it.
You skipped the.
Faith of the Devoted.
There you go.
Is a win the game combo. You just have to have enough cards. You get the Mana of the Drain, you get the discard. It just works really
You actually don't need enough cards. You can have 1 card in hand, and it still goes infinite because you play Scourge, discard your last card, then you just use Vilis. And you just pay life. You have the black mana from the card you discarded. Vilis can just target himself, draw 2. Well, now you have 2 cards. You just keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
so you just win. It's a 3-card combo with the commander, but we have, I think, 0 tutors in this deck. We'll explain how that happened later. But we're just going to draw it naturally. Scourge Familiar is great in the deck. Faith of the Devoted is kind of a brick. But it's just a way to ensure that we can end the game if we draw 50 cards. That would suck, not being able to end the game drawing 50 cards. So now we're going to talk about every add and every cut, and we're going to categorize them. This first one is Paying Life. It's the cards we added and cut that involve paying life.
Yeah, I love the adds that we had here. Snuff Out. This is already a solid removal spell. I love any 0 mana, get rid of a creature is going to be a strong card. And Snuff Out also makes us pay life. That is just...
4 life for 0 mana.
So good for our deck. Our deck loves that.
It's like the best card ever. There's also Toxic Deluge, which is already one of the best board wipes ever. These two, they're just amazing staples that are so good. And then it just becomes pay X, draw X, and wipe the board.
Yeah, all of that is already insane in this deck. And on top of that, Toxic Deluge being this controllable board wipe, we're going to do it for 7, and Vilis doesn't leave. Vilis is so big that he's probably the biggest thing on the battlefield. So you're wiping everything else away.
There's also if we have Repay in Kind in hand, we don't even care about Vilis anymore. Let's go Toxic Deluge down to 1. Wipe everything out. And let's all go to 1.
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a strong card in this format, in this archetype. Also, we have Erebos, God of the Dead. Greed was already in the deck. Erebos is essentially an indestructible greed that's a little bit more pricey to activate. Still going to be strong for us, no doubt.
Yeah, but also stops them from gaining life. I like that you don't want them to cheese you. Once they go to 1 and you screw with them and mess up their life total, I don't want them coming back from that.
Another random thing is Erebos is really good against us because we can't use our Soul Conduit to switch with somebody else because we can't gain life. So you can't exchange in that case, which is kind of funny.
I don't get how that works with the Soul Conduit. Like if 2 players can't gain life, they can't switch life totals because I don't understand. That just ruling doesn't make any sense because
it does.
You can't gain life, but that doesn't mean you can't switch life totals.
You can't exchange. So part of the exchange of life is one player gains that much life and one player loses that much life. I
thought that was just a result of exchanging them.
No.
You go to 40, you go to 1.
No, switching somebody's life total from 30 to 40 is gaining them 10 life, regardless of how you word it. It is gaining 10 life, and they can't gain life, therefore exchanging is out of the question.
Oh, maybe the word exchange probably just has really weird rules, meanings, and magic. But next is Doom Whisperer, which works because all it says is pay 2 life, surveil 2. We're going to clear chaff off our library that we don't need. We're never going to draw lands, and then Vilis just says, oh, and draw 2 cards. So it's pay 2 life, draw 2 cards, and then scry 2.
This one is pay 2 life : It's really, really, it's just as insane as those cards from before.
Yeah.
Except for this one is a little bit worse because you have to do it in increments of 2, but...
No, but it's also better because it's not literally a blank magic card without Vilis.
Yeah, the Surveil is not a little better. The Surveil is a lot better than the rest of the stuff we're doing. Stinging Study... Draw 16 cards?
If there was ever a Stinging Study deck in the world, it is this deck. Even without Vilis, it's 5 mana, draw 8, lose 8, which that rate is really good. That's like, we're getting into like mini ad nauseum rates.
And needless to say, draw 16 is amazing. And then there's Night's Whisper. We had already in this deck Sign in Blood, which is pretty much the same exact card. Well, Night's Whisper. If we want Sign in Blood, we want Night's Whisper in a mono blacklist.
2-mana draw 2 is actually decent, and we're a little bit higher than them than like Phyrexian Arena in general. But when it's 2-mana draw 4, you just have to play that card. That card's amazing.
As for cuts here, we cut Read the Bones. It's just like a worse version of both the Sign in Blood and the Night's Whisper that we just went over. Ambition's cost is just a little bit too pricey in this deck. We have a lot of card draw, a lot. So things like Ambition's cost are just not going to make this deck.
How much card draw do you need? We have card draw. We have things that are going to work without Vilis. And then once we have Vilis, it's a joke. We don't need to do anything. We're going to draw bajillions of cards easily. Every card in the deck works towards this. I don't think these cards are good rates. Sign of Blood and Night's Whisper, they're totally fine. Stinging Study is a good rate in this deck. These are terrible if you don't have Vilis. So I really just don't think we need them, and not every slot needs to be card draw. Like, if we have too many slots devoted to card draw, we're not going to have any action.
Yeah, exactly. And the Killing Wave, I think, is just a bad Magic card. I understand the cuteness of what we're doing. We turn it into an X in the black draw with Vilis out, but I'm not interested in this card. I don't think it's very good.
I think it's cute.
Cute
and
is
I think
right.
Joe Cherry's is lower on it than me. I think it might be okay. It can be really good against, like, if you throw down X as 6, you're probably destroying most creatures, and then you get to maybe draw 6 or 12 cards. But Rite of Consumption was the last cut. We can use it on ourselves and then damage ourselves, but I think it's better to just cut it and not have to jump through those hoops.
Yep, and then next category is gaining life. We obviously want to be gaining some life so that we can, mitigate the life loss at some point, because we can go down to 1. But if we don't have one of our switchers, we're just stuck at 1 and we can't do anything.
Right, we just lose.
So we have things like Blood Artist, absolutely awesome in this deck. Whenever any creature dies, it's going to trigger. Our creature count's not super high, so I'll just throw this in right now because it goes so well. We cut Zulapur Cutthroat.
Yeah.
Our creature count is low, and we're not an Aristocrats deck, that we don't want it to trigger only on our creatures. Blood Artist, much better for this list.
What's awesome about Blood Artist is that its target player loses 1 and you gain 1. So you can just keep targeting yourself, and whenever a creature dies, you draw a card. That's what it'll say.
Yeah.
Or, if you need life, just drain somebody else and then accumulate life when you wipe the board or something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got much more utility in this deck than Zulapur Cutthroat. Nighthawk Scavenger, perfect for like a 6.57 power level. It's just a big, giant, has a ton of power, and it is lifelinker. That's what we care about. That's what's going to... I think it's really perfect for a power level like this.
I think you're guaranteed a 6/3 lifelink, and that's like build your own Sarah Ascendant, basically. And I don't think this card is that bad. If you play it early and you connect twice and it dies, great. We now drew 12 cards, basically. We just increased the amount of cards we can draw by 12.
Yep. We also added Exsanguinate. This is just... It feels like a perfect card for this deck. It's going to be our finisher after we put everyone down to like 1 life total. We'll just play this for a couple and do it.
Yeah.
Or it's, this is a mono black deck. We're going to make some big mana somewhere, so we'll just cast it for huge amounts of wins sometimes.
I am not a huge fan of Exsanguinate. Torment of Hellfire is so much better, but in this deck, you want the bonus on life because you're drawing too many cards for them to handle, so you just want more fuel in the tank. And the cut, besides Zulapur Cutthroat for life gain, was Blood Tithe. This is a clean switch for Exsanguinate as far as I'm concerned. It's 4 mana, gain 9, and then they each lose 3 for Blood Tithe. And Exsanguinate, if you pay 4 mana, it's gain 6, and they each lose 2. But you get a scaling where you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or win the game with it. I just think that's not even close. We had to cut some cards, and I just don't think Blood Tithe is going to pull its weight most of the time.
Yeah.
Without Vilis, and if you're not doing the Wombo combo draw my whole deck, this is terrible.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% of that. It's funny. Exsanguinate's a card I almost never put in the deck. You have to care about both the life loss, the life gain, and not be playing white, because then you have Death to the Deathless.
Yeah.
In that specific scenario, which this deck is meeting, that's when we'll play it.
It's like the triple Venn diagram. It's like Vilis right in the middle.
And then one of the biggest bursts of life gain in Commander.
In recent memory.
Yeah, it just gains so much life. It's Sangromancer. You play this, and then you wipe the board. You're gaining an easy, 40 life sometimes.
Yeah, it's at least 30. If you're going to wipe the board, you're getting at least 30.
Yeah, there's usually 10 creatures on board. I think that's a safe thing to say.
It lets you kind of go up and down with Vilis if you want to kill tokens and stuff. Well, you pay 2 life, draw 2 cards, kill a token, gain 3 life, and you're just feeling like you can't lose.
Up next, we have a little ramp removal section. For the ads, we added Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual. We want rituals in this deck because we just want to get Vilis out, period. We don't care how we get him out. We'll spend as many cards as it takes to get him out because guess what? Once he's on the battlefield, the card advantage engine just keeps going.
Yeah, the problem with rituals is that you can't afford to discard a card to accelerate a lot of times, especially in Commander, where a lot of commanders, accelerate out, ramp it out, and then boom. And then it dies, you're like, oh, I lose the game. But when you slam Vilis and you have even 2 mana left over, which is huge, now you're just refilling your hand and you're never going to go down resources. It's so nuts to be able to cheat Vilis. If we felt like making this more powerful, obviously, like Mana Crypt, Jewel Lotus are so silly in this deck.
And these rituals are great for ramping out Vilis, but they're also great even when Vilis is just on the battlefield, because you cast a Dark Ritual, all of a sudden you draw an extra 4 cards from a Dark Ritual. That's never happened before, ever.
Or if we're really going off, we throw down a Cabal Ritual with our last 2 mana. Now we have a Scourge Familiar we can play from our hand, and then we just win.
Yeah, you're just going to absolutely go off from that point and win.
I feel like Scourge Familiar, even without the Faith of Devote, is just like an auto win.
Yeah, in this deck specifically, yes it is. There's also Wayfarer's Bauble. That's an easy include.
Just solid.
Yeah, and then for removal, Deadly Relic. It costs 4 most of the time, but guess what? We're ramping to our commander, so it costs 0.
Right, and then when we have our commander out, we're drawing so many cards, so we'll never really have it and not have our commander and have it matter.
Early game is when that'll happen.
If Vilis is out, we're going to be able to fire this off. It's not a big deal.
Yep, and then there's Soul Shatter, just another really fair removal spell that just fits perfectly for the power level we're aiming for.
I feel like not a lot of people are playing Soul Shatter. It's like really good. It's like one of the best black removal spells. It's in my top 5, probably, for black spot removal or removal spells. People just play more of that card. In terms of cuts, Languish and Crux of Fate didn't quite make it. We already have Toxic Deluge that we added. We already have Pestilence in the deck, and there was already another board wipe in the form of Mutilate. And that's 3. I don't think we need a ton of crazy amount of board wipes. So we cut Languish, Crux of Fate. Also for spot removal, we cut Baleful Mastery. It's a good card. It's not a bad card, but we're already adding. There's Ashes to Ashes, Reckless, Spite, Dismember already in this deck with synergy with Vilis, and we just added like 4 more. And then including an MDFC that we'll talk about, so we don't need Baleful Mastery.
Yeah, and I think Warping Wail, it's fine, and I get it. It's got the cool mode of helping you maybe ramp into Vilis at some point. And it counts as a sorcery. BZ likes this card a lot more than me. Personally, I don't think the mana base had enough colorless sources to support it, and then on top of that, I'm just not a Warping Wail fan.
There's no universe where I ever cut this card from the deck, but Cherries is more disciplined than I. And I do love Warping Wail, and it could go in some Vilis decks, but maybe not this one. Miscellaneous Cuts, we just have cuts left over. We didn't necessarily translate these into the same category. They're just not in the deck anymore. Dimir House card. I couldn't find anything at 4 that was crazy good to tutor, and it was so slow. And we're trying to cut tutors and increase variance, so let's get rid of this thing.
Same thing, yeah, exactly. Same thing for Wishclaw Talisman. We're trying to cut down he said he didn't want very many tutors. He already had this one in. Well, let's just get it out. Let's make this deck a nice mid-power level that's not tutoring at all.
Yeah, well, the Wishclaw Talisman is a trap. It doesn't actually create a more fun game in this deck specifically. Here's what happens. You play it, and you activate it, and you go get Scourge Familiar, and you win the game right now. It's not going to... There's no fun, what are they going to tutor for? It's like, they're dead. They're not going to tutor for anything.
I agree with you completely there. There's also Platinum Angel we cut. I feel like this is a trap. I get the achievement unlocked. If you want to do the achievement unlocked of put yourself to 0 or end up lower because of taking damage and then switch life totals, that's... Or even cast. If you're at 0 and you cast the one that sets everyone's left to the lowest life total, it's an achievement unlock. It's a really cool achievement unlock, and if you want to go for that, leave Platinum Angel in. Overall, I don't think it's worth it unless you really, really want to do that.
Because most of the things we have to lose life are specifically paying life, and you can't pay life you don't have, even if you're at 0 and can't lose.
Exactly.
So most of our stuff just doesn't work anymore, and it seems like a non-bow, but a super combo with 2 cards.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Lich's Mastery. I think it's just not good enough overall. It's cool. It's a fun design. And again, this is a card you can leave in the deck, but I think if you're trying to aim even for the mid-power level, this card drags it down quite a bit.
I feel like this is competing with us. Isn't this just going to kill us? It doesn't win the game. It just stops us from losing the game. And just like Platinum Angel, that's fine, but once we hit 0, we can't pay any more life. Mm-hmm. And then every time we try to draw more cards, we have to either discard them or get closer to losing. It's just really weird.
Yeah, and then the last 2 cuts, Visceracy or Carrion Feeder. These were the first, as soon as I looked at this deck, they're the first 2 I cut because I was like, this isn't an Aristocrats deck. We don't have the creature count to really need sack outlets at all. So yeah, they were easy cuts from this list.
I missed these, and I'm glad Joe caught them. And he was like, what are these here for? I'm like, oh, it's nothing. No. I always see them in a black deck, and I'm like, oh, they're probably good, but not this one. They can definitely get cut.
Yeah, they just didn't fit the theme at all. And last but not least, we have lands. We added some MDFCs, baby. You know we did. Aghanim's Awakening, Hygrim Mauling, both great MDFCs. And then there's this one, Malika Rebirth. This says lose life on it, and it's an MDFC. Get it in the dang deck.
Well, Aghanim Awakening also says enters untapped, draw 3 cards.
That's also insane.
Did Aghanim Awakening need to be any better?
Yeah, Aghanim Awakening is already the best MDFC, in my opinion. Yeah, why not make it a little better for this deck? Castle Lockthorn, guess what?
Oh.
Draw a card, how about this? Activate, draw a card, draw 7 cards.
That's Castle Lockthorn has never been better.
It's so cool.
It is so cool. There's also Tomb of Arami, which sucks. This is the worst land ever made because it deals a damage to you if you don't have an ogre. Whatever, we're at 40, and we just tap a land and draw a card.
We've never had an ogre.
We've never wanted an ogre. We don't need an ogre. It's worse with an ogre.
I really like this card, Witch's Clinic. We had some utility slots. Give your commander lifelink. Well, he's got 8 power. That's going to work great for us. I really like Witch's Clinic. I definitely want to find more decks to put it in, but it definitely you need to have a commander that really has a big fist. I was thinking butt in my head, but what's the opposite of butt? And I said fist. Yeah, but is there a cool term? Muscle. Muscle.
Has lots of muscle. War Room is the last, and it basically says 4 mana, draw 2 cards, which is a pretty solid rate on a land. And the only thing that any of these lands were competing with was there's a Cabal Stronghold in the deck with a bunch of basic swamps. And I think that's fine. There's now 22 in the deck instead of 28 because we cut 6 swamps for all these cards. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Cabal Stronghold's still going to, on average, produce more than 1 mana, which is great. That's where we want it. And we don't have a bunch of tutors. We have no ways to find this thing. So I don't want to build my whole mana base around it when I can't control when I even draw it.
I will be completely honest. That is actually something I didn't notice in the mana base. I think I would have cut that. I think 22 lands is probably too few for it. But that being said, it is still very powerful when you get it going. Cabal Stronghold is a card I would never play, even in a mono black deck, because I want the utility slots, and you can't. Basically, you have to sacrifice 5 or 6 utility slots to play it, and I'm just not down for that.
Really? But you're already in a mono black. Aside from this deck, you're already playing Cabal Coffers. I feel like I would just play this. The floor is wastes, and any time you have 4 swamps, or 5 swamps, it's just better. It's just like a really good land.
Maybe you're right, but I definitely feel like I honestly think if I built a mono black deck, there's 0% chance it's making my list.
Dang, we'll have to build for the gameplay. We'll all just build mono black decks.
Yeah, sounds really fun.
The budget was nothing. He didn't really specify a budget because he just wanted this deck to be powered medium to be a really fun level, and we totally nailed it. We only spent $127.84. That's TCG like mid market price. You can get it for lower if you wanted to upgrade with these for some reason. And how about the average mana value?
The average mana value was 3.32. We lowered it to 3.18. We almost always lower it. We try to, at least in most cases. And for the total changes, 22. Not too many. I think this deck was doing what it wanted to with a little bit of confusion. But there was cards like Platinum Angel that we cut that were doing the thing and just like weren't quite what we thought the deck should do. But it was a very focused deck. I thought it was actually right around the power level. We bumped it from like maybe 6 to 6.57.
I feel like we kind of kept it where it was at, but we removed the outliers of games where it doesn't feel like a 6.5, where it feels like an 8 because you Wishclaw Talismaning for Scourge Familiar, basically.
And just winning the game.
Yeah.
But regardless of anything, that is the video. Special shout-outs to every single one of our patrons. Love you all as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. The best way to support us is patreon.com. The link is in the description, and it's also, if you want to type it in, it's on the bottom of this card here. So go to patreon.com and support us, and we would be forever grateful.
Forever grateful. We'll literally never forget how amazing you are. And there's also other ways to support. We got 3 affiliate links. If you want to buy cards, go to TCG Player. Get literally whatever you need. They're never going to be out of anything. Get your sleeves in Dragon Shield. You either go to the US link or the EU link. Anytime you start with any of those links, you're supporting the channel by checking out and buying stuff.
Yes, we would appreciate that very much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting us in any way. We also have a Discord. Come in, hang out, and say hi to the Nitpicking Nerds.
And share memes.
And share memes if you want. You don't have to. That's not required.
Right. Tidbit about our lives.
So your turn.
I think it's definitely your turn, I was going to say.
Definitely your turn.
I don't know if we've ever talked about tattoos, but I was randomly talking about a tattoo for whatever reason earlier, like 30 minutes ago. I am not opposed to getting a tattoo, but I don't know what I'd ever get.
Nitpicking Nerds logo.
I could maybe get the logo, but like, where do you get a tattoo? I feel like there's a bunch of different. I'm not familiar with tattoo locations, but I feel like there's a bunch of different spots to get a tattoo, and they're all viewed differently. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Also, one more tidbit: Amber's a jerk. Amber Beezy's cat, or also my cat, I guess. She didn't want to leave the room today when we were recording, so I picked her up and she bit me. And
she
left a couple marks. Look at that.
She was playing in this bubble paper, and we had to get her out, and she was like not having it. She was really not a fan.
And I thought at first she didn't leave any marks, but she got me decent.
She gets you. I got a little mark here. I don't know if they can see from a while ago. Sometimes she goes off. I mean, cats are really weird.
I'm gonna go chase her around the house now.
Let me know about where I should get my tattoo.
Tramp stamp. Peace out, Tribe Scout.